But what if God does not exist, because many people doesn't believe in God, and many scientists say that there is no God, and I waste my time in church and be kind to everyone, but I have only one life. What if?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. Science cannot prove or disprove the existence of God, at least yet. And I mean, just even practically, we can see that there's just so much order in this material world. And where does order come from? You know, how do you get order from disorder? And I mean, you know, they talk about how if you have, you know, a bunch of Scrabble, you know, the game Scrabble, and you take all the letters and you just throw them up, and they're going to come down in a perfect line across the double word score in the middle of the Scrabble board with a perfect word, you know, any word. It's just not going to happen. You could throw up all the letters as many times as you want. It's never going to happen that they're going to come down in it. So, and yet there's so much order in this material world, and there are physical laws, you know, and there are theorems that we understand from, you know, geometry and trigonometry and everything. There's so many theorems that we understand that these things are like, and you know, even the sort of most simple one, 1 + 1 = 2. You have an object, another object, and you have a thing that we call two object. You know, so all these things are laws, and there could be a completely, you know, one has to start beginning to think completely outside of your mind. There could be universes where it's completely different. You know, that there's not even any of these laws, and the laws are completely different. I mean, I can remember there was one in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness actually hosted a forum on consciousness in India. This was probably now about 20 years ago, but I remember reading one of the very first scientists there to present a paper. And he actually talked about how the law of, what happens with water when it freezes. You know, as water approaches 0 degrees Celsius, so from the time it goes from, I think it's 4 degrees Celsius to 0 degrees Celsius, instead of continually contracting, it goes contrary to the rules of physics in that it starts to expand. You know, and we know that, I mean, they say that it's because, you know, there's the oxygen and the 2 hydrogens. And so as water gets colder and colder, it does actually sort of contract a very small bit. But as it gets below 4 degrees Celsius, then the 2 hydrogens actually start to repel each other. And so therefore they start pushing apart. So he said, this is the only thing that, if that was not there physically, if that physical phenomenon was not sort of prescribed into this universe, there would never be life as we know it. So who put that there? You know, who made it happen like that? You know, it's just, and there's so many other, I mean, philosophers have been debating the existence of God or not God for so many different, for years, eons and eons. And you know, it really is just the nature of the individual. It's like, do we want to live in harmony with everything that's going on, or do we want to try to live in disharmony? And if you actually understand that everything is related, then we can live in harmony. And if we are all related, then who is the original relation that we come from? Is God. And if you don't understand that, then there will just be disharmony. And we've seen, actually, practically speaking, for all the findings of science over the years and all the different things that we have computers, we have medicine that, and they can even, quickly make vaccines and do all kinds of stuff. They can just do everything and practically. And yet, if we don't understand that, what's it actually done for the world? Has it made it a better place to live? I don't know. There's still a lot of death and dying in the material world. And there'll always be death and dying in the material world. So if you want to just think there's nothing, then God's not going to force you. Of course, some religions may force you, like the Taliban. It's like I was looking up Sharia law because right now, at the time that this is being taped, the Taliban have just marched into Kabul, and so everybody's concerned about what Sharia law is going to be like. And one of the things they do say is that you believe in Allah and the ways of Allah, or we kill you. So it's like you get forced. But God's not like that. God, it's a complete misunderstanding of religion. And God is completely loving, completely open, and wants everybody to come back to him on their own free will. He's open to that. Just let it happen as it happens. God is just willing to accept us as we are. And if somebody chooses to be an atheist, go ahead. I think you're taking the wrong path, and I think you're going to suffer for it. But if you don't want to listen to me, I'm not going to force you. So it's like in other words, you can help somebody to try to understand that there is a God, but you cannot force them to understand that there is a God. And I don't think anybody will ever be sort of converted unless they come to that understanding themselves.